The skull on the left, do you notice that the cheekbone is sticking out? The zygomatic is sticking out. Now, the reason the zygomatic is sticking out to the cheekbone, of the dolichocephalic skull on the left, is because this is how dolichocephaly tends to exhibit itself amongst non-dolichocephalic populations. This is a disability. That cheekbone sticking out is not a normal expression, okay? This cheekbone, the way it's sticking out the side there, like a thumb, all right, shows that this is not a properly formed skull.
distance from the forehead to the back of the skull is long in relation to the overall height of the cranium, and that's something that you see quite frequently in certain populations, one of which is ancient Egyptians. Another would be black African groups, well, also certain populations, one of which is ancient Egyptians. Another would be black African groups.
Ancient Egyptians, black African groups.
But some scholars now believe Cleopatra and her siblings had African blood. Could the answer be in this skull?
The distance from the forehead to the back of the skull is long in relation to the overall height of the cranium, and that's something that you see quite frequently in certain populations, one of which is ancient Egyptians. Another would be black African groups, will also show that characteristic. This one certainly looks more white European. This one certainly looks more white European.
And the other thing I noticed is that I thought, okay, maybe he's just done it so it fits in the square. I think maybe he was, maybe he was like starved for space in the book and he's tilted it forward so it kind of fits in the square. And I thought that was the case until I found another image of Tutankhamun and it was at the same angle. And I found another image of Tutankhamun. Whoops, this one's upside down. Can I rotate? Yeah, that's it. And it was at the same angle. And then I realized, Zahi Hawass is on something here. Why is he looking down? That's what everyone with a logical mind would say. Why is he looking down? Because in Zahi Hawass's world, the Tutankhamun is not looking down. What you'll notice is if you tilt the skull downward, like you can see, he's taken all of these images in this book, and it's not an accident. What he's trying to do is trying to present the idea that the back of Tutankhamun's skull over here, this is the top of his skull. Okay? And he's trying to present the idea that the top of his forehead here is the front of his forehead. And he does this with every single image of Tutankhamun. It's absolutely ridiculous. Away in his late teens, and the reason why is because I've actually took a bit of a reverse approach with this. I've started with a reconstruction. Watch this.
The goal of the production is to actually tell Tut's story as a person. The best way to know about people of the past is to actually look at mummies and skeletons and things. And so here we've got the actual mummy of Tut. The task that I was given then was to work with the scan, to segment the skull out from the scan so that we could get a 3D print, and then to work with Christian on the actual facial reconstruction.
Andrew Nelson is a biochemical archaeologist or bioarchaeologist. I can't remember exactly what it is. I think it's a bioarchaeologist. He's obviously done his reconstruction based on 3D scans of the skull of Tut.
The program that I use here is called Dragonfly. It's a very, very powerful tool to take a CT scan and to really look what's inside something. That creates the model that we use for the 3D print. I think it really comes to life.
Having a look initially, the question mark you're going to have straight away is, why would you like this reconstruction? Well, I like this reconstruction for a couple of reasons. Well, I like this reconstruction for a couple of reasons. I like this reconstruction. I like this reconstruction. I like this reconstruction. Zahi Hawass can get that cephalic index. I've shown you it here. The only way he can get the cephalic index that he's proposing is to tilt his head this much. Okay, so if he tilts his head this much, okay, this is where you get the 83% that Zahi Hawass is proposing. It's absolutely ridiculous. That's how much you need to tilt the skull. And that's why Zahi Hawass has got a book full of tilted skulls. That's why he's got it. And that's the only way he gets that brachycephalic, you know, this idea that he's just a guy with a weird cone-shaped head. And yet even his reconstruction artists that he sanctioned, all of them ignored him. This image was taken to show as much of the crown as possible. So there are two things that would have taken place with this image. Firstly, the image would have been taken probably with a wide angle lens to show as much of the detailing as possible. And secondly, this image would have been taken from an angle to show as much of the detail as possible. There was no concern as to whether or not we're taking this image directly down from the top. Guys, so we can make sure that I'm not making this up. Here, this is the raw, this is the actual magazine that this image. This is an image trying to show you King Tutankhamun's skull cap. It's not a cephalometric image. So I did a cephalic index of this image. Let me zoom out. And the cephalic index of this image is actually 83%. Okay. So the cephalic index is actually 83%. So that would make it a brachycephalic skull if this was a cephalometric image, which it's not. Point, because this is the one where we kill the argument. So here I have taken the very image that he used, okay, this long view of Tutankhamun's skull, okay, and I'm just going to line it up so that the top of the skull is touching this red line here, and the chin or the bottom of the skull is there as well. So I'm just going to quickly, I need to make that slightly, just a touch bigger, so it touches on both. There we go. By the way, it's very important when you're doing this exercise that you don't introduce any distortion. So you can't squash or elongate images. Okay, that completely invalidates the process, as you can imagine. And I've actually seen him use squashed images as well, because he took them from a video from another person who likes to try and debunk me, who deliberately squashed the images to really push their point forward. But anyway, so I've got two images that are now in scale. Okay. The bottom of the chin lines up, the mouth lines up. Okay. These images are scaled to one another. Okay. So everyone's clear on that concept, the way that works. So we should be able to do the same process. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to erase this for fun, okay, is I'm going to take the very image that he pulled up and said, this is the cephalometric image, i.e. this is the top-down image of King Tutankhamun. Yeah, this is the image, undistorted from the web, and I've measured it so it's exactly the same width as the front view. Yeah, measured it so it's exactly the same width. Here's the front view and here's the top view. Is showing there. It's a bit better now, i.e. the gap's a little bit smaller, but it still doesn't fit. And the reason it doesn't fit, guys, and the reason it'll be almost impossible to get it fit is because it was taken with a lens that was specialized for showing the detailing on the crown. It's a wide angle lens. Okay, it's a wide angle lens, and there's actually no amount of rotating. In fact, because the thing about it is, if I rotate it even more, which I'm going to actually show you guys really quickly, just to give you an idea, I'm going to take these two. No, I'm just going to take this one. And I'm going to rotate it even more. We eventually get to a point where it's nearly, the angle is nearly narrow enough to match. So I'm just going to take it from there. But then the nose is so hidden. So you can see can you guys see as I'm angling it more, can you see we're getting closer? So I hope everyone can see as we're angling it more, we're getting closer, but we're still not there. Okay, that is not cephalometric. It's nowhere near top down. We're actually beyond 45 degrees at this point. Okay, and we're still not there. Okay, these are not going to match unless we stretch. Okay, and that's why I'm convinced zoom out, and the cephalic index of this image is actually 83%. Okay, so the cephalic index is actually 83%. So that would make it a brachycephalic skull. to the cheekbone of the dolichocephalic skull. Full understanding, so you're able to pronounce dolichocephaly correctly. So there's the first misrepresentation and lie. I have never said only Black Africans have dolichocephalic heads. Only Africans exhibit dolichocephaly